Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can avoid the Medicare penalty, which is a big question that a lot of people have. You do not want to make that mistake because you'll be paying for it the rest of your life. So I had a friend once who got pulled over in another state, and he was doing some commuting for work and was driving across another state, and he got pulled over, and I can't remember exactly what the infraction was, but it had to do with the state law. And he said, well, I didn't know the law. I didn't know the state law. I don't live in the state. And the cop got really upset at him and said, ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, which seems pretty hardcore. But I bring that up because a lot of people feel the same way about Medicare, that they're pretty hardcore. And I can assure you that they are pretty hardcore. So ignorance about Medicare rules is not going to help you if you mess up on your enrollment times. They are quite black and white. So let's go over them in this video so that you do not make the same mistakes that I've seen many other people make before. Okay, so for clarification here, I'm talking about Medicare Part B as in boy in this video. Okay, Medicare Part A is free. Medicare Part B is what covers you when you go to the doctor, and it costs this year in 2021 $148.50. That goes up a little bit each year. Part C and D are actually run by private insurance companies, and there is also a penalty on Medicare Part D, which is prescription drug coverage, which I'll have to cover in another video. But this one I'm talking about the penalty for Medicare Part B, which is a really common issue that I see that I used to see quite a bit when I worked at Social Security. Okay, so let's go over the two main things you need to know to avoid the Medicare penalty on Part B. Number one, you have to be covered under an insurance plan from the time you turn 65 until the time you sign up for Medicare. Okay, so that means that the month you turn 65, you have to have insurance. And then as long as you're carrying that insurance until the time you sign up for Medicare Part B, you'll be fine. You'll meet the first requirement, that is. I'll go over the second one in just a minute, but you'll meet the first requirement. Now, this could also be insurance from or through your spouse. So if your spouse is working and he or she has insurance through his or her employer, and you're covered under that plan, that works as well. So the insurance has to be either your own or your spouse's coverage, okay? Now, number two, the insurance has to be based on current employment. This is the thing that so many people overlook. This is where people get a little messed up. The insurance has to be based on your current employment or your spouse's current employment. So that means you have to be an active employee of that company. Okay, so let's say the insurance is your own. You're working, you have insurance through your employer. As long as you're an active employee and you're covered at least by the time you turn 65 and you continue working and then you sign up for Part B, maybe when you're 67 or something like that, as long as you're covered and you've been working the whole time for that employer, then you're fine. Now, sometimes people will be working, but their insurance is through a previous employer somehow. Then it doesn't work. Okay, the coverage has to be based on current employment through the company that you're working for. Again, if your spouse is working, then it's fine. As long as your spouse is working for that company, they have insurance through that company, and it covers you and your spouse, then you're fine. Okay, then you'll be okay to just delay signing up for Part B until you're ready to sign up for Part B. The most common thing, obviously, is when somebody stops working, then they sign up for Part B because they need insurance, and very, very few employers will continue that coverage beyond the retirement date. The major exception to that rule is the federal government. So if you work for the federal government and you retire from the federal government, you can continue your federal health insurance until you die. So here's the other major mistake that most people make is they're federal employees. They retire, they have their federal coverage, they think, I don't need Medicare Part B because I already have this insurance coverage and I'm good. And then they come back and they talk to Social Security a couple of years down the road and they say, hey, I want to sign up for Medicare. And Social Security says, okay, that's fine, but you're going to have a penalty added to your premiums, which is 10% per every year that you wait to sign up. And you won't get to choose when you start your coverage. You actually will have to sign up for that during January to March of each year, and then your coverage will start in July. You don't need to remember all those details right now. I'll do more videos on that, but for the time being, just remember these two rules for avoiding the Medicare Part B penalty. Number one, you or your spouse has to be working and covered under the insurance. So you have to be working and you have to be covered under the insurance plan for that employer. If you are self-employed, then it's fine as well, as long as you have at least two people in the business who are covered. Okay, so if it's just a business with you and your wife, it's okay if just the two of you are covered under the insurance plan through your company. If it's just you, then it's not going to work. You would need to get insurance. You would need to sign up for Medicare to avoid the penalty. Okay. Okay. One other side note here. Sometimes what I used to run into is people would be covered under the VA, the Veterans Affairs, and that coverage doesn't count either. So, they turn 65. Their only insurance is the VA coverage. That doesn't count to help you avoid the penalty. Okay, so if you want Medicare Part B without a penalty, then you would want to sign up for that when you turn 65. Now, one thing I always used to tell people is you don't have to sign up for Part B ever. Okay, you're not required to sign up for Medicare Part B. You could turn it down and not have coverage, okay? Or if you're on the VA coverage, you could just rely on your VA coverage forever. Same way if you're a federal employee, you could just rely on your federal insurance forever. So it's fine if you don't want to sign up for Part B. I'm not telling you you have to sign up for it. What I'm telling you is if you don't meet those two requirements, then you're going to have penalties on your Medicare Part B premium. And again, those two requirements have to be met from the month you turn 65, the beginning of the month you turn 65, all the way until the time you sign up for Medicare Part B, with some very few exceptions. And I always have to bring this up too, since I'm talking to a large audience here. If your birthday falls on the first of the month, then Medicare says your birthday is in the prior month. Go figure. So if your birthday falls on the first of the month, then you need to have your coverage in line starting the first of the prior month. Okay, that means you have to be covered under an employer's work plan. Okay. Whew. This is why I'm doing a Medicare or a Social Security and Medicare channel, because these things are quite complicated, and I can understand why it's kind of an intimidating process for a lot of people. But don't get too scared off by it. You can get your questions answered here on this channel and through a program that I'm creating that's going to help you walk through the whole process of Social Security and Medicare. It'll answer your questions and give you a step-by-step workflow for how to navigate the whole Social Security Medicare thing. So look for that. I'll put a link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.